What is up, Algebra Bros? It's Mr. C here, and in this video we're going to sketch the graph of negative 2/5 to the x minus 1, an exponential function. First thing to note is that we have a base that's less than 1, or in other words we have an a value less than 1. So before the transformations take place, we know that it's going to have a y-intercept of 0, 1, and to the right of this point we're going to have an end of the graph approaching the x-axis, whereas to the left of this point we're going to have an end of the graph going up to positive infinity, and that would be our first graph, a base graph that is. Next thing to note is that there's a negative in front of the exponential expression, and what this is going to prompt us to do is an x-axis reflection. So we'll reflect this graph across the x-axis. What I would do is take the point 0, 1 and reflect that across the x-axis first, so it'll now be at 0, negative 1. And if we reflect the piece to the right of 0, 1 across the x-axis, that's going to give us an end of the graph that approaches the x-axis again, but underneath it. And then if we reflect the part of the graph that's to the left of 0, 1, we're going to have the part of the graph to the left of 0, negative 1 going down to negative infinity. So that would be our second graph, and that graph represents an x-axis reflection of our base graph. Last but not least, there is a minus 1 trailing the exponential expression. That's going to prompt us to do a vertical shift down by 1 unit, and the graph that will shift vertically down by 1 unit is graph 2. So we'll take this point 0, negative 1, move that down by 1 unit like a G unit. Something else that shifts down by 1 unit is the horizontal asymptote. So instead of going along the x-axis, it's now going to be crossing the x-axis at y equals negative 1. And then we just want to do our best to sketch out our final graph in the same manner as graph 2. So what I mean by that is, to the right of this new point, we'll approach the new horizontal asymptote, and to the left of this point, we'll hook down to negative infinity. And this would represent our final graph. As for the details, by default, the domain is all real numbers. The range would be negative infinity, comma, negative 1. And this is because the graph is entirely underneath y equals negative 1. The equation for the horizontal asymptote would be y equals negative 1. And then the new location of 0, 1 would be 0, negative 2. And there we have it, a sketch of the exponential function negative 2/5 to the power of x minus 1. As always, if you have any questions for me, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.